Here's a story about how I put together this billion-dollar mastermind dinner. Larkin, the CFO of Wavemaker, under Group M, a billion-dollar media company. How I met Larkin was that I was looking to bring on some CFOs onto my podcast because I was going through some accounting issues with my company and I wanted to basically just learn how to better manage sort of company sort of resources, learn more about the importance of cash flow. And Larkin was a few people that got back to me on LinkedIn, and after multiple follow-ups, I was able to get him on my podcast. Helen, the MD Managing Director of Criteo, a giant global marketing company valued at $1.6 billion. He also used to be head of retail and shopping at Google. How I met Colin was I was invited to this marketing sort of debate club, and I was actually one of the sort of opposition. I sort of went up, talked about e-commerce and share why I thought e-commerce was going to take over retail in the next 5 to 10 years. It was a pretty cool sort of event that one of my friends put together and invited me to, and that's sort of how I met Colin. Then reach out to Colin on LinkedIn and get him on my podcast as well. Fred, the founder of Finder.com, a company that's now worth probably $1 billion. Fred would be collaborating with one of my friends, Fonzie, and as a result, when Fonzie threw this sort of farewell sort of party, Fred's assistant, Michelle, was at the party, and with a ton of follow-up with Michelle, I was able to get Fred on my podcast as well. So after getting all these amazing people on my podcast, I was like, hey, I want to put together this sort of mastermind dinner in Sydney and bring together these amazing minds. So I put together this LinkedIn group chat, putting in Colin and Larkin because I knew they were sort of in the same marketing space. Gave a small introduction for each one of the members and sort of start figuring out some dates and locations for the mastermind dinner. Now, I wish it was as simple as that and then everyone just showed up to the party, but it was actually much more complicated. There were so many reschedules, so many cancellations, and it was just constantly, everything was up in the air. And after a bunch of sort of mishaps, we finally got a date that was pretty locked in on, and literally a few days prior, I messaged Fred because I had his phone and was like, hey Fred, do you want to come to this sort of mastermind dinner that I was putting together? I think Colin already knows you and you might be interested to just sit with these like heads of these marketing companies that are like billion-dollar massive companies. And he gets back to me with a okay. And to be honest, I didn't know he was actually going to show up. So I didn't want to sort of overpromise Colin and Larkin. I was like, there's 65% chance that Fred would actually show up because he's a pretty busy guy. And surprisingly, everyone shows up to this dinner. And man, the dinner was amazing. I learned so much just sitting with these people with just so much more experience than me. It was a Thursday night. The dinner started at 6 p.m. and we just talked for 4 hours. And by the time we finished, it was 10 freaking p.m. on a Thursday night and everyone had work tomorrow. Everyone was just having that much fun and we just kept talking and talking and talking. So yeah, that's a story on how I put together this billion-dollar mastermind with these super smart people from these amazing, massive billion-dollar companies. Now, this isn't the first time I've attempted to put something together. I booked this private room in this Japanese restaurant in the city, booked like 12 seats, dropped $1,000+ just for 2 freaking people to show up. After paying the bill, I was carrying home bags and bags of sushi. But that's a story for another time.